New Artist Spotlight Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to this week's New Artist Spotlight Podcast. I am your co-host Lisa Haden and I'm joined by my co-host
Origin Cross, and it is good to be back in the chairs again today with another great guest from the New Artist Spotlight community. Want to send a quick reminder out to you guys, though, for any news, updates, reviews, tips coming from the community, check out newartistspotlight.org. Now, today's guest, we would like to welcome to the show, and we think we got it, but correct us if we're wrong. Bad Rat.
That is correct. Yeah, it is a very interesting spelling of it, but surprisingly enough, it was actually Charles Connolly. He did a review on one of my songs, and halfway through his article, he realized, wait, is this supposed to just be Bad Rat? Like but originally he was like bad.r_4t. Let's introduce him that way. And then halfway through, he's like, I just realized it's Bad Rat. And that's a play on his last name, which is Goordat. But if you switch the D and the R, it's Good Rat.
Yeah.
So that's a little nugget for you.
Awesome. Well, I did catch it when you joined, and I was like, oh, it like clicked for me. So tell us, how did you come to that name?
Funny enough, it was actually inspired from elementary school, like primary school, where one of my friends, he because every time I introduce myself, I'd introduce myself and I'd be like, my name's Joshua Goordat, but if you switch the D and the R, it's Good Rat. And then he said, well, what if you're a bad rat? And then he switched the D and the R back and made it Bardat, and that was my nickname. But it always stuck with me, because I am, and this actually relates to like some of my music as well and some of the stuff I put out. But when I think of being a bad rat, I think of being bad at the rat race, and I'm not a conventional sort of person. I'm not a conventional sort of musician. I like to experiment with sounds. I like to be very open-minded with what I do. And I like what I have to have a message. So then I'm always trying to, challenge that convention and be a bad rat when it comes to the rat race.
Fantastic. So could you tell us a little bit about your musical journey? I read on Spotify that you've been releasing songs on SoundCloud before you started releasing them on sort of major streaming platforms. So what has your journey been like?
Well, my musical journey, it's been a long one because I was trained in piano since I was a little kid. In high school, I was part of a singing program. I was in choirs, I was in a cappella groups, I was in bands, but I only started writing my own music when I entered university, and I was introduced to Reaper, and I did a course on how to work Reaper, and that was my first introduction to a DAW. I got myself a MIDI keyboard, and it's an Akai MPK 261. I even have it like right here on my desk. But that's really when the journey started for me, because I had always been performing music, but I never really made my own music. And then a couple years past that, I decided to start releasing and say, you know what, let's see where this goes. Like even if it doesn't reach a wide audience, I just want to be able to say I put something out there and be content with that. And now here we are.
Got it. So talk a little bit about that then. If you don't hit a major audience, right? But kind of what are you hoping to do?
So what I'm hoping, because like as I mentioned earlier before we got on this call, but I am a student as well. I study psychology, and I am hoping to do therapy, right? And that's like my major hustle, right? But like on the side, I'm like, oh, like if I can put out meaningful music to people that talk about more complex topics, my album that I dropped earlier this year, at the beginning of this year, it talks about the death of my dad. It talks about me going through depression, feeling nostalgia, eventually having manic episodes, going through an episode of psychosis, dealing with addiction to weed, dealing with like recovering from that, and eventually being like, you know what, the most important thing in this like to do is to just be authentic and real with yourself. Because I was lying to myself the whole time, and that's why the matters got worse and worse before they got better. So then I'm like, you know what, you just got to be yourself and be authentic in this world and real and vulnerable. So when it comes to why I write my music, it's like if I can resonate with like one person who's gone through a similar experience that I had, and it reaches their soul and it touches them and it lets them know they're not alone, then that's a success for me.
That's really good. And also, I suppose by addressing the issues or the problems that people go through, you're sort of breaking down that stigma attached to it, because there are a lot of people there who could do with speaking to someone, going to therapy, getting help with something, but they don't, because they're worried about the stigma attached to that and how they're going to be labeled thereafter.
Yes, that's so true. No, thank you for pointing that out, because the destigmatization of like or just like the stigma that's associated with like mental health issues, with grief, with all these sorts of things, with addiction, you know, like these are all very taboo topics. And I wanted to kind of break that barrier and say like, yeah, you know what, like that will be my first album. It will be my first like official work, essentially, is going to be a concept album about all these topics, you know. And I realized it wasn't, you know, like a lot of people are like, that's a bit daring, that's a bit adventurous to, you know, like do that and expect good results. But for me, it wasn't about the results. It was just about the message that it's putting forth, right?
Mm-hmm. And it worked for Eminem. I mean, he covers those sorts of topics, and you know, he's very popular. So there's no reason why you can't address those subjects and not create popular music. And from my point of view, it's nice to hear those sort of subjects being addressed in a way that's not through primarily rap music, because it's only really in that genre that people are brave enough to sort of address those, whereas you know, in standard pop culture you don't really get that.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even say like, it's interesting because this brings into like, what is my genre of music? And I don't know if you guys know Submit Hub, but yeah, they have a genre analysis tool. And every time I run my music, like different songs through Submit Hub's genre analysis, it comes up with like lo-fi, industrial, pop, grunge. It comes up with like K-pop, J-pop influences, Cuban influences, like singer-songwriter. Like it can't decide what my music is. So I label it as a experimental electronic, honestly, but it has so many different influences at the end of the day. So like, yes, I do rap on some songs, but I wouldn't consider myself a rapper, right? But that's like where it's like, because I was raised as a singer, and my primary mode of like communicating myself through music is definitely through singing. But then as I started writing songs, I was like, maybe I can rap a verse, spit a bar, you know, like see how well I do. And then I figured out, okay, you know, I'm not bad at it, so might as well start incorporating that. But when you're saying like in the pop realm, like that's the reason why I brought this up. I'm like, in the pop realm, I'm like, I'm definitely not just like poppy music. If that's your impression, like definitely not.
Yeah, when I looked at like your most recent project, I saw it was labeled as alternative, right? And is that a genre choice that you picked, or was you just kind of like, this is like, it is so diverse and so different that, right? I mean, of the options that my distribution platform gives me, alternative just is the best fit for it.
Yeah, the latter of that. It was exactly what you said, Origin, that like there was a select few options, and I'm like, I don't even think they had experimental on it. I would have labeled it as experimental otherwise, but I was like, alternative might be the best, and it may be a slightly more like if people say like, oh, I'm coming in to like listen to something like really experimental, then like mine doesn't quite go to the point of like a lot of other experimental songs. It still has a catchy tune. It still has like a nice beat, you know, like it's not just like random sounds here and there, but it's definitely crossing that border. So then that's why I decided at the end of the day, I'm not going to do experimental when labeling it. I'm going to do alternative, you know?
That makes much more sense, yes. It's a shame they don't have like an eclectic one because like you say, some of your songs sound a bit more sort of hip hoppy rap, then other ones sound a bit more sort of ballad. It's a real sort of cross, isn't it, with your music, which I really like. So it's a shame there's not like a just a bit of everything button that you could press.
Oh, I wish there was. I so wish there was, Lisa. You know, like, because that's the way I do music. It's like I never tie myself down to a genre. Even my latest works, like, you listen to one of my songs, none of them are going to sound like in a similar genre to the next song that I put out, and so on. You know, like, I've been experimenting with dubstep-esque sounds, kind of doing like more EDM kind of like sounds recently, and those are going to be like a couple projects that we'll probably talk about later.
When putting together a project, right, a body of work, how do you approach that then? If you're kind of like, well, not everything is intended to kind of fit a uniform type of structure, right? Everything is kind of its own thing. So how do you go about putting together like a full project?
Well, this is interesting because it actually ties into something I wanted to talk about on this podcast anyways, but it was the intentionality and behind writing, like, you know, and I don't go in saying I want my song to sound like this. I want my song to be this genre. I want this sort of thing. Like, sometimes if I have a very clear vision, then yeah, I will work that way. But more often than not, it's I'll sit down and just be like, let's write something. Do I know what that something is in the moment? No. But as I start putting together, like, okay, let's make a beat. Okay, this is what the beat sounds like. Okay, let's put a lead on there. And like, it's just working through each individual element, you know, like chords, lead, bass, drums, you know, extra sounds, pads, you know, like different, you know, arpeggios, you know, and I'll do that, you know, like in the sound effects, of course, right? But I never really sit down and say, this is what I want to do. It's more every time I go, it's an experiment of let's see what I can make with the time I have.
So that sort of ties into what you were saying previously before you came on this podcast. You said that you wanted to talk about not placing conditions on your music or in life in general. So that sort of ties into that then.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to ask this question is like, I wanted to ask a question to you guys. I know you guys are the interviewers, but I was wondering, how do you find it? Like, do you work better with music when you have a clear vision of what you want to do? Or if you have no vision of what you want to do, how does that work out? Or when you're somewhere in between, like which one works best for you and why?
With myself, it works better when I have a clear vision of what I want to achieve because otherwise I'll sit down and I'll start working on something and then I'll think, oh no, I need to change that to work better with that. And I find I don't really make an awful lot of progress because I keep going back. So it's like one step forward, one step back kind of thing. So it works better for me when I have a clear sort of vision. But there are a few projects where, I don't really know what vision I have of it. So I sort of just have a play around with those ones to see where it takes me. Because I typically start with the lyrics because I'm a writer. So I've got a bunch of lyrics and I'll typically just pick one of those up and go, right, how did this sound in my head when I was sort of writing it down? And then I'll work sort of backwards from that, if that makes sense. But I find it easier when I have a clear vision, because then it's just progress. I do have these little steps back, but I make more progress in a shorter amount of time.
I see. That's very interesting because, when I talk about my experience, oh, actually, first, let's actually ask Origin because I want to hear from both of you.
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of different, I guess, being a rapper and not a producer, right? So for me, writing started out as just the way that I vented, right? So when I first started like writing raps with an intent to talk about something, it was just venting whatever was going on in my life. And so starting to actually make music was a hard transition for me to make good music, because I was so used to just writing to vent and then like saying, oh, but I like this beat. So these two things go together now, where it wasn't really a situation to where what I was writing went with the production that was with it. It was just, this beat sounds cool. I have these lyrics. I'm gonna put them together, and that's the song. And that did not work at all. And I had to learn to write music to a beat, which kind of made my process into, I would start with a beat and then find a beat that I liked, and then work on finding something that fit with that beat as far as kind of what I was going to talk about. And then we really kind of just start off as like freestyling until I said something that fit the beat, and that was a topic or the beginning of a topic of something that I wanted to like carry out, right? And if that ended up being something that was going to be in the chorus or in a verse, that kind of just came as it kind of got more and more filled out. So it's kind of a thing now where a lot of what I write, if I'm writing something because I just feel a way, I might just write it and I won't actually make a song of it. But if I want to write something that's like a certain type of feeling or topic, I might look for specifically for an instrumental that conveys that, and then put the words that match it based on what I'm feeling. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. In that case, I probably lean more towards Origin's style of like making music, because I actually often leave the lyrics for last, and I'll write a song and then be like, what's the feeling that's coming through in the song? What words can I write about it? And I know I said originally, like, I like my things to have a message. I like it to be meaningful. I like it to be relevant, not only for myself, but for others. But more often now, since I've already like created a big concept album about all these topics, I'm like, let's see if I can just make a fun song about like, I don't know, like one time I did like some like kind of like MIDI sound, very like retro sounding instruments, and I it sounded like a racing game. So then I was talking about like, I'm feeling so fast I can be someone's race car, and then like, okay, let's see where I go with that. Like and I'm talking about like moving so fast, speeding so fast, and I'm going vroom vroom, like, and it's fun then, like just getting to see the whole process. Because I never, again, like, and this is where I'm different from both of you, where I never have something like, besides this album that I put out, I never actually sit down being like, I really want to write something. Like, that's once in a blue moon that I'm like, I have a vision for a song. Otherwise, it's like, I just want to experiment with sounds, with music, with lyrics, and just see where my creativity takes me.
Yeah. And another thing that you mentioned that you wanted to talk about, right, was collaboration, right? And I feel like in my experience, right, sometimes collaboration is really cool, because I've sat down with Cool City, who was one of my kind of frequent collaborators, right, and just said, we want to do something different than what we usually do. And so we're like, let's just find something like upbeat and just like write a happy positive song, and then looking through and finding a beat that was that vibe, and then just like starting and just going off in that direction to see what we could come up with, right? And so I don't know if that's necessarily something that I would have done. And the song in my head I'm thinking of is "Stay Strong." If I don't know if either of you have ever heard it, but just I don't know if that song happens without me being with my friend sitting here with just like, let's just do something different, right? If it was just me by myself writing, I don't think that happens, right? So just like I think that kind of even speaks a little bit to just the power of collaboration, right? Having the creativity of somebody else in there with yours, and then like in making something, right? Because it takes you in a different direction than if it's just you and just what you know.
Hmm. Yeah, and I found it very interesting because I have two things that I actually want to talk about here, because there's collaboration and then there's also something that I've been doing more recently, which is doing remixes. And that's like kind of semi-collaboration because you still want to maintain the authentic like vibe of the song. You don't want to completely like override the song and make it like completely your own. You want to keep a similar aesthetic, but you want to give your own taste of what you have to offer. But on the note of just collaborating with others, Bad Rat is actually secretly two people. I don't know if you guys know that. That's a little secret that we don't often share. But it's me and one of my friends that I was housemates with in university. And I was writing my songs, and he was like, like I'm kind of getting back onto mixing and mastering, and I'm looking for songs to mix and master. Like, I'm like, oh, I have a bunch. Like, take them, please. I don't know what to do with them. I have the concept. I have no clue how to mix and master. So then, like, he became like, like my recording artist, my mix and mastering, or not recording artist, my recording engineer, my mixing engineer, mastering engineer, like, and he hops onto songs at some points as well, sings a bit in some of them. In Euphoria, he's singing some of the harmonies. In Staring at the Ceiling, he's the one doing the ukulele and the bass. Because I'm primarily a piano player, I can play simple chords on guitar, but I can't really, I'm not so proficient at that. So like whenever there's something that I can't do, he can do it, and whenever there's something he can't do, I can do it. So it really balances itself out. But one of the best things about collaborating with him is that I tend to go a bit of a madman when I'm composing stuff, like I will put in like 100 different tracks. I'm like Jacob Collier, except like not nearly as virtuosic, like I just put in so many different sounds, so many different ideas, so many different concepts, and like it will like switch genres in between song, like it will switch time signatures, it will switch tempo, it's like all over the place. And then I show it to like my bud, and he's like, how do you expect anyone to listen to this? Like he'll just tell me straight up. He's like, this is absolute chaos. You need to like actually like, and one of the like prime examples of that was Freaking, because that's the song about psychosis on the album. And I when I was just cathartically writing it, it was very, very much like I just want to get out all this chaos and madness of like what it feels like to like hear voices, to have delusional thoughts, to go through all of that. And it became like too saturated with like just chaotic energy. And he's like, like you kind of need to meet people at a middle ground here. And if I didn't have his valuable input, like I don't like I enjoy it so much more now how it is. It's still chaotic. It's still crazy, but it's like palatable level of it. And if I didn't have his input there, I probably wouldn't have like, if I didn't have him there in the first place, I wouldn't be as far as I am today. I probably wouldn't have ended up releasing anything, So that just shows like the power of collaboration.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, if I'm being honest, right, listening through the album, and I think the only song that you just mentioned that I didn't hear was Freaking'. But I was kind of like, there's a lot going on here. And so like me as a listener, I like to try to hear what the message is, right? And make sure that I'm understanding what's like if the song is nonsense, then I'm like, okay, well, we'll just listen to the beat and get the vibe. But if there's like, intended messaging behind it, right? I want to pay attention to it. And kind of there were times where I was kind of like, I want to pay attention to like what you're trying to tell me, but there is a lot happening, right? And I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna get it on the first like listen through. So
Hmm.
no, I get what you're saying, and I think for you, just my opinion, listening, that is good that you have somebody there to kind of rein you in when you want to just go full blown and just see
Yeah.
what happens. 'Cause, even for me, when I did start writing and trying to put out music, thing that I got was me being me, I'm gonna say I can rap my butt off. And that's what I would do on every song for every second of every song. I would just rap, 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 just words. And then they're like, this isn't a song though. Like you're just rapping for 3 minutes and like it's not easy to listen to because like you're not giving anything catchy or you're not giving anything like there's no space. You're just rapping, and then even the chorus, which is supposed to be the catchy part, you're just rapping and you just keep rapping. And so like that was the thing that I had to learn was like, okay, I'm overwhelming people by just I just start and I just never stop for like 4 minutes straight. So I had to get that feedback from people over time and be like, okay, I'm making a song. I'm not in a rap battle. I have to like approach this a certain way to get a good product.
Hmm. And that's something that is very important. Like another thing that my friend actually was like telling me about. He's like, I understand like when it came to the concept album, I was allowed to have a bit more freedom, you know? But then like now that we're like, okay, that's done, what's next? I really had to pull the reins in, and I wish I could show you some of my like newest things in the works, but you'll just have to wait and see. But there's a one because I'm Guyanese, and I wanted to put in some of that like that flair from like using Guyanese slang, Caribbean slang, like paying homage to the fact that like I was born and raised in Canada and like kind of having that Western influence on my life, So and I did like EDM influence, but then like the main thing I'm focusing on now is like the simpler I can make it, the better. Like if it like at this point, like to get a song conceptually down, I'm like, I don't want to take more than 2 hours just to get the concept of like a verse chorus. Like even if I don't write the lyrics on it for the track, I don't want to take more than like 2 hours on it and make it really simple, really nice, really catchy. And if it doesn't work for those 2 hours, then I'll put that idea on the side. I'll start fresh. I'll make a new one and I'll be like, let's take 2 hours on this one. And it's having that really like streamlined process of just pumping out music has helped me so much with like my reining in the big brain energy that I have when it comes to songs. Because I want to put so much, but then it's like, is it going to be, as you mentioned, like where does the intention lie between all the sounds? Like in the moment you have an intention, but like does
How
it
does it
carry
come together?
through?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I get that. And I think even another example, because Lisa mentioned it earlier, right, is Eminem, where now I feel like Eminem is probably the best rapper that he's ever been right now, but the criticism he get is that he doesn't make good music anymore. And I think it's now he's just rapping at such a high level where that is what's like taking over, right? And it's still probably better than what a lot of other people could do, but like as far as what you come to expect and know for Eminem, and you're like, okay, well, I get it, but and I get that you can rap, but like we want the songs that we can actually turn on in the car and bump and listen to, like while we're just going about our day, right? And being able to have something like that's just, listenable without having to like lock in and like, all right, we're gonna dissect this.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna pick up every little bit and piece and every Easter egg that's thrown in,
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, like, it's like, again, very unfortunate that I don't have much like more music out except for the concept album, because that one was very much intended like you have to work to listen to those songs. Like, I don't think there's one song that's like easy to listen to and just like easy listening. Like, no, I'm like, it was a painful experience for me. I'm gonna make it a painful experience for the listener too.
And now we have to make it a painful experience for you once again as we slide into our new artist spotlight, Quickfire Five.
All right.
So, as you probably know, right, you get 5 questions, no more than 15 seconds to answer each question. And if you don't succeed, there's punishment. What's the punishment going to be this week, Lisa? Something horrible.
I think that it was all music comes down from Spotify, all the major streaming platforms, SoundCloud, all of that. So you have to start completely from scratch all over again. And maybe we fly you off to the moon or something like that.
Ooh, so not only is all my music down, I have to compose from the moon and somehow beam that over.
Or find a way back. Choice is completely yours.
Okay, I mean, I might stay on the moon, honestly. You don't know how moon music might sound.
Galactic, I imagine.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Could be nice. I'm ready.
Okay, question 1. What is your favourite song on the NAS playlist at the moment?
I don't know if it's still on the NAS play. I'm pretty sure it is, but Family of Two by Charles Connolly.
All right, question number 2. What's one song that always makes you want to dance?
Ooh, what's it called? Don't You Worry, Child by Swedish House Mafia.
Okay, excellent. Number 3, if you could have the singing voice of any other recording artist, who would it be?
Oh man, I wish I could mix two together, but honestly, I would say Jacob Collier just because he has such a versatile range and like it's very peaceful to listen to as well. Calming, soothing voice.
Okay.
Define a successful career in your own terms.
Define a successful career. I'm gonna assume you mean music-wise. In my own terms, we kind of already talked about this, but what I would want is just if it reaches people's souls somehow.
Okay, and final question. What is your guilty pleasure song?
My guilty pleasure song. It's that one, I love you, baby, and if it's quite all right, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that song.
That's
my
song.
guilty pleasure.
I think everyone has to sing along to that song when they hear it, don't they?
Right? They have to. They have to.
Yeah.
It's a necessity.
Well, I think you passed that one.
Yeah, I think you did good.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we're all here for. What song are we going to take a listen to today?
So we are going to listen to my last song on the concept album. It's called Da Da. And this one is about being authentic amidst the struggles of your own internal battles, amidst the struggles of what the world faces you with. You know, it's mostly rapping, but then it has like a nice little catchy choir in the chorus. So I'm looking forward to you guys, getting a listen on this one.
Awesome. Well, give us the hard intro. This is Da Da Ba.
Now featuring Da Da by Bad Rat.
Let's go.
than twice, not a few times, view the galaxy. Beloved, it showers love, gives up enough for the world around us. Do not shout, in a game, entertainment, it's a mission of cosmic match. Limited things that real contemplation, no council pass. Pilgrimage, pilgrim, expectation, society's mass. Killing is Lucifer's favorification, nations fail the task. Don't get confused by the madness surrounding. You get to choose not to lose. Enjoy no strife, don't look down when you can look up. Oh, the beauty that is life and sing.
Da 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 da
Agreed, all else faded. Agreed to joy traded. Just pursuing our means. We're seen as pawns in each other's scheme. Instead of the kings and queens, we always see life as a balance beam. The tightrope of life built on the backs of our peers. Don't look down, just keep the end in sight, and maybe it'll solve our fears. It's alright, it's okay. It's all just a big game. The troubles that we face, get it wrong, and you'll pay. Stuck in a cycle, chasing something, chasing fame, fortune, sections, money, funny. How that's something, no, it's your hands, it's ugly. Protectionism, nepotism, narcissism, so much ism, hard to see what isn't worth the big ass price that we play. A rat race, we're running, no end in sight. Devoid of all light, we toil and we fight. We work day and night, appeased in our plight. Dead ends left and right, I think I just might hop out of these walls. It's in my own call, I'm done with this maze. I'm done with that grace, look what they all say, thinking that I'm crazy. This from the days my precious made, it's clear that it's the only way. Da 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 da.
I think that's good.
Okay, so that was Dada by Bad Rats, which is a fantastic song. I had to listen to it twice though, because I wanted to read the lyrics on Spotify when I listened to it the second time, just so I didn't miss any of it, because it's got a fantastic meaning. So do go check it out and really listen to the words and the lyrics to get a sense of the meaning behind the song.
We definitely want to give you a chance, right? I know we talked about a lot, had some really good conversation thus far, but anything that you want to leave the people with, right? Any words, any just thoughts, things that really mean a lot to you?
In the spirit of just Bad Rat in general, in the spirit of the song Dada, I just want to say, like, don't be afraid. Like, despite, wanting to make a hit single, or despite wanting to make something that people will love, don't be afraid to put something out that's authentically you, that really speaks to your heart, speaks to who you are as a person, speaks to everything that you lived through in life, you know. It was a very challenging and very rewarding experience making this album, even though it touches on such sensitive topics, you know. And I encourage all musicians that your story is powerful, you know, and even if it only means that it reaches a select few people, but reaches them profoundly, that's worth it at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So tell people where they can find you, where they can check out your music, where they can, you know, get in contact.
So really on Facebook, on Instagram, I think that's all I have right now. I'm working on getting more, or on Twitter as well, or X as they call it. BAD.R_4T, Bad Rat. Search it up, Spotify, Apple Music, all major streaming platforms, you know. Just search up that and you will find me.
Awesome. Well, at least you won't be confused with any other artists on the platforms, because you have a very unique name.
That's true.
One question we didn't get to ask you quite yet, about your experience here in the Noir Spotlight community, how you initially found it, and yeah, just your opinion.
Oh man, you know what? NAS has been such a life-changing experience for me, honestly, because I originally just searched up how to get more listeners on like Google and then on Reddit, and then somehow I ended up like seeing this like little like, I think it was on Reddit saying like, are you tired of stream teams? You want something like that's real and like will actually support you as a musician? Like try this out. And I'm like, all right, I'll try it out. For the first couple months, I was like, I really appreciated first, like as soon as I went in, I was like, the amount of effort and energy and like time that goes into what they're putting forth at NAS is like tremendous. It's like nothing like I've ever seen before. And even before I got actively involved more, I really like, because I started off just tier one back before we did the socials thing, you know, like I was just streaming like once a day, get my 10 hours in, you know, like I was very much just doing it for like what would I get back. But I realized later on that I was cutting myself short in that, because there's so much more you get back by actually involving yourself, by actually actively supporting, getting to know each other, you know. And it was once I started doing that, like it was actually not even once I started doing that. It was once I released my album. Charles Connolly picked up on Staring at the Ceiling and just the album in general and wrote on that for his like Tuesday article, right? Connolly's Corner. And that's when I realized, like, I was like, oh wow, you know, like I didn't do anything to deserve this. Hold up. Backtrack. Like, where is this coming from? Like, and that's when I realized I'm like, it's so much more worth it. Because then through that, I started getting more involved. I started actually posting on X, Twitter. I still call it Twitter, I'll be honest. But you know, like posting on the socials, you know, attending the events, and like the more you make excuses for reasons why you can't get involved, the more you're missing out on the full breadth of like everything that NAS has to offer, which is so much, honestly. And like everyone's so loving and supportive, and it's just been nothing but like I feel like it's like out of everyone who's like I've shown my music to, you guys like support it like a family would support, you know? Like, and I really feel that family atmosphere, and like we're not just a community, you know, we're you know, like brothers and sisters, you know, like bonded together with this common love for music and just wanting to be there for each other.
I think you win. I think I think your answer to that question has been probably straight up the best one so far in all the podcasts we've done. And I don't know if there's a prize, but if there is, you will receive it.
Either
Well,
way,
I
we need to
already-
get you. We need to get you on our marketing team.
Well, thank you for joining us today, spending some time with us, letting us get to know you a little bit better. It's been a really good conversation.
Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you both, Lisa, Origin. You guys are amazing hosts.
Thank you.
Aw,
Thank you for all
thank
that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. You know, like I've been following the NAS podcast and like it's just such a, you know, you guys flow so seamlessly, you touch on things so well, and you always have something meaningful to say, which I appreciate.
Oh, it makes it easy when we have good guests, which we do. We have fantastic guests.
Yeah.
Everyone
Blame
at
Lisa.
NAS is yeah, everyone at NAS has been like a pleasure to get to know and work with and, you know, be on, you know, that movement to support each other.
All right. Well, with that, I think we are coming to a close. Again, thank you for spending some time with us today. Really good interview, really good conversation.
Yeah, this was an absolute pleasure, you know, like we touched on everything. We got to I'm interested to see how you guys would like splice this together because there's so much that we talked about.
Yeah, and I mean, questions I didn't even get to ask, but I mean, maybe that just leaves it open for another time down the road, you know.
Yeah, maybe once I actually have more music, like that's one big thing. Like, I'm like, you guys only have like the experience of the one album, and I'm like, I'll even send you guys if you guys are interested, like just outside of the podcast, like I can send you guys like the demos of what I have for like it's not mixed or mastered or anything, but you guys can hear the concept of where I'm at compositionally now.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'll keep in touch with you guys. Thank you so much again for being so amazing and just being like great people in general. You know,
Aww.
it's been so great to spend this time with you too.
And it's been so lovely to get to know you and to just enjoy your positivity. It's really refreshing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You, sir,
I really
definitely
appreciate that.
gained a new follower on Instagram, which randomly enough happens most weeks because I don't realize that when people follow me, they're following me from the community, and then I'm like, oh, I'm interviewing this person, I follow back.
Mm.
But yeah, no, thank you. Want to send a shout out to the New Artist Spotlight community again, as our guest has said today, family, right? But everybody that helps grow us, promote us, give us platforms that puts in their time, unpaid, unthanked a lot of times, just to keep things going and growing. We appreciate you guys. Thank you and peace out.
New Artist Spotlight.